Have you ever walked away from a conversation, knowing you said everything you needed to say, but still feeling like you somehow lost? Like the words just didn't land? Or worse, pushed you further away from your own truth? Do you feel that tightness in your chest, that knot in your throat, when someone louder takes over, interrupts you, mocks your ideas, or just fills the room with noisy confidence? Maybe you've told yourself staying quiet is weak, that not fighting back means you're giving in, that silence equals surrender. But what if I told you that's a lie? A story we've been taught? What if true strength, real power, isn't found in shouting, but in the quiet, in the stillness, in the deliberate absence of words? I am Napoleon Hill. Or rather, I speak today channeling the timeless wisdom I dedicated my life to understanding. Wisdom about the immense power locked within your own mind, the power of self-mastery, the power of controlled thought. Thinkers like Nietzsche saw it too. He observed that those who talk endlessly often reveal their weaknesses. Those who desperately try to convince others are already losing ground. They are reacting, not leading. Society tells us to argue, to explain ourselves constantly, to defend every thought as if life were one long debate. We believe we must fight for our truth to be heard. But the universe, nature itself, suggests a different path. A path of quiet strength, a path of profound inner control, a path that is infinitely more intelligent. Silence isn't just emptiness, it's not a void. It's a presence, a powerful force. It unnerves those who rely on noise. It disrupts their patterns. It forces them to look inward, perhaps for the first time. This message is for you, you who feels unheard, overlooked, dismissed. You who walks away from talks feeling misunderstood, your true meaning lost in the static. You who is tired of being the nice one, the peacekeeper, while others exploit your calm nature. Perhaps you've mistaken your quiet dignity for weakness, your thoughtful pauses for hesitation. Today we redefine silence, not as surrender but as strategy. Not as weakness, but as your ultimate weapon. True victory isn't about winning arguments. It's about mastering yourself so completely you rarely need to argue at all. Get ready to see silence differently. Not as a lack of response, but as the most powerful response imaginable. Let's explore how to command situations, influence outcomes, and build unshakable inner strength. All without needing to raise your voice. Why do we feel that burning need? The urge to jump in, to correct someone, to prove our point, to have the last word? It's because we've been conditioned, trained to believe that truth needs a loud defense. That if we stay silent, we let falsehood win. We let others dominate the narrative. We let our own value be questioned. But this reaction, this compulsion, stems from a deeper place. A place of insecurity, the fear of appearing inadequate, the fear of being wrong, the fear of not being enough. Behind this fear often lies the ego, a fragile sense of self. It feels threatened by disagreement. It mistakes questions for attacks. It turns simple conversations into battlegrounds for validation. Many people, when they argue, aren't seeking truth. They are seeking power. They want to reinforce their own beliefs. Not because those beliefs are strong, but because questioning them feels like a personal threat, like their whole world might crumble. Argument in this sense isn't a path to wisdom. It's armor, a defense mechanism, a desperate attempt by the ego to stay in control, to dictate reality. So understand this crucial point. The moment you feel forced to justify yourself, to desperately prove you are right, you've already stepped onto their playing field. You've already accepted their terms of engagement. And, in a way, you've already lost a measure of your power, because needing external validation, needing others to agree with you, to approve of you, shows you are still tied to their opinions, still seeking permission to be who you are. This is what I called drifting, allowing external forces to control your inner state. This reliance on others' views is a common trap. Living according to expectations, wanting to be seen as good or right or smart. But this constant search for outside approval keeps you chained. It limits your potential. It dilutes your power. True strength, the kind I studied in the titans of industry and thought, lies not in convincing the crowd, but in knowing your own mind, in holding your course, even when faced with ridicule or criticism or outright rejection. It's the power to be misunderstood, yet remain steadfast, to stand firm in your definite chief aim, your core purpose. Regardless of the noise around you, this is a different kind of power, not measured in verbal sparring wins, but in internal mastery, in the quiet confidence that comes from self-knowledge and self-control. It's the power that emanates from a calm mind, a mind that can stay centered while chaos erupts around it. This power grows stronger every time you choose not to react impulsively. Every time you choose understanding over argument. Every time you choose silence over empty words. If you truly desire to command your life and influence your environment, you must grasp this. Many discussions are merely theater, performances driven by ego and insecurity. And the first person to jump on stage, reacting emotionally, often loses control. The reactive mind is easily manipulated. It follows predictable patterns. It can be provoked and prodded. But the observing mind, the mind that watches, listens, and understands before acting, that mind is powerful. It is dangerous to those who rely on manipulation because it operates from a place of strength, above the petty need to prove itself. So, if reacting is often a trap, how do we lead? How do we exert influence? How do we convey strength without resorting to loud words or arguments? If mere words can betray us, how does our presence become powerful? The answer lies in cultivating absolute self-control, in mastering your thoughts and emotions. This is the foundation upon which all great achievement is built. It's the source of true personal power, the kind of power that doesn't need to shout. Think of the truly successful individuals you know or have studied. Do they constantly engage in petty arguments? Do they need to shout to be heard? Or do they possess a certain gravity, a presence, a calm certainty that commands respect? This presence comes from within. It's built through discipline, through controlling your mental attitude, through focusing your thoughts on your purpose, through refusing to let fear, doubt, or the opinions of others derail you. This inner mastery manifests outwardly, often in profound strategic silence. The silence of someone who doesn't need to win debates. Because they are focused on winning in life, they don't play cheap emotional games. They observe the world and human nature. They understand motivations. They listen more than they speak. They choose their moments carefully, knowing when words are necessary, and knowing, crucially, when silence speaks louder, when silence conveys more strength, when silence is the ultimate strategic advantage, because they understand a fundamental truth. Silence is itself a language, a powerful, often unsettling language. It doesn't plead or try to persuade. It simply is. It asserts presence. It commands attention. This silence isn't empty or passive. It's charged with potential. It can be a warning, a sign of deep thought, an indication of unshakable resolve. It is the sound of a mind in complete control, the sound of self-mastery. While others are shouting to be heard, the master of self commands attention with their calm demeanor. While others desperately explain themselves, this individual observes, listens, and understands. Their quiet focus can reveal the weaknesses in others' noisy arguments. Simply by remaining calm, centered, and attentive. This silence acts like a shield or a wall. Those who rely on reaction and conflict don't know how to handle it. They try to provoke a response, they become flustered. They might reveal their own insecurities, their own lack of control. They lose their footing on the shifting sands of emotion. This isn't passivity. Let me be clear. It is absolute control over your own energy, your own mental resources. It is strategic conservation. Think of it as mental economy. Every word spoken without purpose is energy spent. Every argument engaged in unnecessarily drains your focus. Every emotional reaction is like showing your hand in a card game. It reveals a potential vulnerability, a place where you can be hooked, manipulated, or thrown off balance. That's why the truly powerful individual often remains quiet. Not because they lack thoughts or opinions, but because they don't feel the need to voice them constantly. They have moved beyond the craving for external validation. Their confidence comes from within. Their achievements speak for them. Their presence alone conveys strength. And yes, this quiet strength can be disturbing to others, because it forces them to confront their own internal noise, their own lack of self-mastery. In a world addicted to constant stimulation and chatter, the person who masters silence holds a unique and formidable power. They stand apart. They operate by their own rules, guided by their own internal compass. They create their own values, define their own success, live by their own code. They don't depend on the applause or approval of the crowd, and that makes them less susceptible to manipulation. You cannot easily sway someone with guilt or fear or appeals to vanity if they are anchored in their own self-awareness and purpose. Their silence becomes a shield against these very tools of manipulation. And when they do choose to speak, their words carry weight because they are chosen deliberately, used strategically, aimed with purpose, like a well-aimed arrow, not scattered shot. But this raises a fascinating question. Why exactly is silence so powerful? What makes it so unsettling for so many people? Why does the simple act of not reacting feel like a threat? What psychological currents are stirred when expected conflict is met with quiet calm? The answer lies deep within the human psyche, and understanding this is key to wielding silence effectively. It's not just about being quiet. It's about understanding the effect your quiet has on others, and using that understanding wisely. Silence isn't just the lack of noise, it acts like a mirror. And for many people, the reflection it shows is uncomfortable, even unbearable. When you choose not to react in a heated moment, when you choose not to argue back, when you choose to simply listen calmly, you are doing more than just staying quiet. You are subtly shifting the dynamic. You are removing the expected resistance, the sounding board off which they bounce their energy. Without that resistance, they are forced to hear their own words more clearly, to confront the energy behind their own arguments, to face their own emotions without the distraction of combat. And this can be incredibly destabilizing. Think about it. Most people don't speak solely to express a clear, well-formed thought. Often they speak to defend themselves, to convince themselves as much as others, to mask insecurities, to fill an uncomfortable void, to maintain a certain image or persona. Their words are a shield, a smokescreen, a performance. When you meet this performance with quiet observation instead of applause or attack, the performer is left exposed on stage. The disguise feels thin. The audience, you, is not reacting as expected. Social psychology confirms this. In situations ripe for conflict, silence is often interpreted, not as neutrality, but as judgment, or disagreement, or superiority, even if you are simply processing, listening intently, or maintaining calm. The other person's mind starts racing. They project their own internal state onto your silence. Why aren't they arguing back? Are they judging me? Do they think I'm foolish? Did they see through my bluff? Do they know something I don't? The human brain's ancient survival mechanisms kick in. The amygdala, the center for fear and threat detection, becomes active. Uncertainty breeds anxiety. Your silence creates a vacuum, and their mind rushes to fill it, often with their own fears and insecurities. On this unseen psychological battlefield, your silence becomes a powerful tool. It disrupts their strategy. It undermines their confidence. It can subtly shift the power balance without a single word. Thinkers like Nietzsche sensed this intuitively. He saw the average person as enslaved by their reactions, acting on impulse, speaking out of vanity or fear, constantly seeking external feedback, a slave to the opinions and provocations of others. But the superior spirit, the self-mastered individual, understands the power of restraint. They know that every unnecessary word can be a concession. Every emotional outburst is a signal, revealing where they are vulnerable, where their buttons can be pushed, where their energy can be drained. Therefore, they choose silence, not as avoidance but as vigilance, as a means of conserving mental energy, as a way to maintain clarity and control, as a strategic position from which to observe and understand. Furthermore, silence has a particularly devastating effect on manipulators, on those who thrive on chaos and emotional reactions, people who intentionally provoke others to gain an advantage, who use anger, guilt, or pity to control situations. Your calm silence is like water on their fire. It denies them the reaction they feed on. It breaks their pattern. It reveals their tactics for what they are, attempts to control through emotion. When you don't take the bait, their power diminishes significantly. They are left flailing, their usual tools rendered ineffective. So how do we cultivate this powerful silence? How do we make it a tool for strength, not a sign of resignation? It begins, as all true power does, within your own mind. First, practice the pause. Before reacting, especially in tense situations, take a breath. Create a small space between stimulus and response. This space is where your power lies. It allows you to choose your response consciously rather than reacting automatically. Second, cultivate active listening. Listen not just to reply, but to truly understand. Focus on the other person's words, their tone, their body language. Often people reveal more in how they speak than what they say. Silence allows you the focus needed for this deeper level of understanding. Third, become comfortable with pauses in conversation. You don't need to fill every gap with noise. Allowing moments of silence can add weight to your words when you do speak. It can also give others space to think or even to reveal more. Fourth, master your emotions. This is paramount. As I wrote extensively in Think and Grow Rich, undisciplined emotions are fatal to success. Fear, anger, jealousy, vanity, these cloud judgment and lead to reactive behavior. Through self-discipline, auto-suggestion, and focusing on your definite chief aim, you can gain control over these inner forces. Your outward calm will reflect this inner mastery. Fifth, learn to use silence strategically. Sometimes the most powerful response to an insult or provocation is no response at all. It communicates that the attack didn't land, that you are unaffected. Other times, a deliberate silence after someone speaks can prompt them to elaborate or reconsider. Or a pause before you deliver an important point can command attention. Sixth, focus on your purpose, your definite chief aim. When you are crystal clear on what you want to achieve, petty arguments and the need for constant validation fade in importance. Your energy is directed towards your goals, not wasted on unproductive conflict. You become less interested in winning arguments and more interested in achieving results. Seventh, let your actions and results speak for you. Ultimately, true power and influence come not from clever words, but from competence, achievement, and character. Build a reputation based on integrity and accomplishment. This foundation speaks far louder than any temporary victory in a debate. Success is the best answer to critics. Remember, this isn't about becoming cold or unfeeling. It's about becoming masterful. It's about controlling your inner world so you can effectively navigate the outer world. It's about choosing wisdom over impulse, strategy over reaction, quiet strength over noisy weakness. You possess, within you right now, the power to control your thoughts, to direct your emotions, to choose your responses. This is the starting point of all achievement. Silence, used wisely, is a key manifestation of this inner control. It is the shield of the self-possessed, the tool of the strategist, the language of true confidence. It allows you to observe, to understand, to plan. It protects you from manipulation. It conserves your precious mental energy for what truly matters. Stop believing the illusion that loudness equals strength. Stop feeling obligated to engage in every battle you're invited to. Reclaim your power by reclaiming your silence. See it not as emptiness, but as potential. Not as weakness, but as control. Not as defeat, but as the high ground. Walk away from draining arguments not with a sense of loss, but with the quiet confidence of someone who knows their own worth. Someone who refuses to play games where the only real winner is negativity. Someone who conserves their energy for building their dreams. Embrace the power of the pause, the strength of observation, the wisdom of restraint. Master your inner world, and you will find yourself mastering the outer world too. Begin today. Practice silence. Practice self-control. Feel the shift in power. It resides within you, quietly, waiting.